evening. My name is Mark Berry, Director of Parks and Recreation. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. We're here to discuss changes to Sutton Park. Sutton Park is what I consider the community park. It's very diverse. There's a lot of different facilities within there, and it's in need of some renovations. It's been quite a while since that we've invested in that park. We've been doing things on kind of a small scale in the skate park, but there are other elements that need updating, and we've received various grants and funding from different sources. We are going to be putting in a new bathroom. That bathroom is going to go right by the basketball court. We're also going to be putting in a multi-use path that's going to connect Route 1. It's going to go out to the back side of the park, past the ball fields, and actually connect onto Midway Oval. And we also have money to make, well, as I talked, we've got money to make improvements to the skate park, and we've already met with a really enthusiastic group of skaters and have a follow-up meeting with them. And we also have money to make improvements to the playground. So we've got, there's a lot going on, and we've brought on Kenton Frost, this is Chad Frost, to kind of lead us through this whole process. And so tonight's meeting is just to take some public input on what we would like to see, what you would like to see in Sutton Park. And we even brought some kids to get their perspective. So thanks, guys. So at this point, I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to Chad.
All right. Good evening again. Good to see, I think I know pretty much most everybody here, so good to see you. And as Mark said, we definitely want to get your input. That's why we're here tonight. If I can make this work the right way. Oh, there we go. All right, so Mark already stole all the thunder. What we're doing, as you mentioned, skate park improvements, and we have been meeting with the skaters to look at how that's going to go. We want to get some input from the public on that impact on the park as well. The playground replacement, parking lot improvements, the landscape, the aesthetics, the multi-use path that Mark mentioned, and the bathrooms. I think probably everybody knows, but we always like to start out with, kind of orienting where we are. Obviously, so the new middle school, Grosso as it was being rebuilt, and then the lower half or the southern section of Sutton, we have the skinny part through, and then the northern half of Sutton, and then obviously we have Aquatic Plains, Claude Chester, the library, and the community center where we are now, and the neighborhood. And so hopefully you all saw, we posted through social media quite a bit. We put the signs up all around the neighborhood and flyers in all the local stores, trying to get people to come out and give their opinions so that before this work happens, we can make sure we're listening. As Mark mentioned, the bike path. So this is the plan that was submitted for the grant that the town received. Again, Sutton Park, the southern half, the northern half, the neighborhood. The plan right now is to have an on-road bike path that comes down here, comes in along Industrial, cuts across over, comes through here, and is an on-road facility as it comes around. And then there's a little pathway between two residents there. There's two little fences, basically, a 6 to 8 foot wide path that connects the neighborhood into Sutton Park. And then the path will run around the baseball fields, around the edge, through the tight little area. And right now we're imagining it stays basically along this edge and connects out to the multi-use path along the road. So that's what was submitted. So far we've heard very positive things from the public about it. And obviously if there's any comments on it tonight, we'd love to know, but I think that's a good addition to creating the bike ped network. We obviously have the GNS trolley trail down here, the connection up to Fitch and down to BB and Bluff, and the new pump track that goes over there. So trying to make it safe for adults and kids alike to be able to commute around on bike. So then we're just going to kind of zoom in a little bit. Again, looking at the entirety of Sutton, so now just the last two fields, the pathway up, and then the northern half. And really, with the exception of right through here. This is that pathway between the houses. With the exception of as that bike path cuts through, we're really not planning any improvements yet down at the southern half where the fields are. There's other plans in the future that Park and Rec has money to study that for field improvements, but really all the improvements we're looking at with this project are the north half of the park. So the plan tonight is we'll zoom in here, kind of work our way through the park, talk about, I would like to try to get you to respond a little bit and suggest what you think you like or don't like. And that's really the point of it. And at the end, just any comments, open up for comments. You can see your houses? Perfect. All right. So I have some, if I can get this to fire up. Maybe. So up here at the very front, right, the thoughts were, how does this park feel from a public perspective? When you think of Sutton Park, and I know some of you live right there, some of you drive by it daily, what's your take, I'll say, on the appearance or the effectiveness of Sutton Park as a park? And if you want to just yell it out, then I'll try to repeat it for the record. Yes.
Roscoe Merritt, I'm RTM representative for District 1. This is my district.
Perfect.
And over the years, I've kind of seen it going a little, it gets very used. And it's time to upgrade it. It's a little worn and make some changes, bring it up to date.
Okay.
But it does get used quite a bit.
So it's heavily used a lot.
Oh, I believe so.
Definitely
yes.
time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see some of the facilities that are there that don't get used kind of added into the picture over time. And I know it's going to take time. The money just came through last year.
Yep.
And now hoping to see it get put to good use.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tom Olson, 188 Crosswinds Drive in Knowing. But I drive by here every day. It's heavily used. I ride my bicycle through it during the summertime. One couple of things I would comment on that I, from my viewpoint, just driving by on my bicycle and stuff, is that there's people standing around, could use a second basketball court or that type of thing. I see one up there, just the usage is enough that I saw enough people around there to support two. And the other thing is for the families that are having picnics and gatherings, particularly on the weekends more so, but to have, they do have some stuff there, but there always seems to be, that's always full and stuff, particularly in the summertime weekends and stuff. I saw a lot of usage of that over the time, and they use it for the parking lots, but there's a lot of family type of gatherings there too for picnics and the like. So keeping that area, so that they can have games and be able to picnic. So to some degree, I don't know if there's some kind of refiguration that can be made, because there's some wasted space up along the Route 1 access there and the entrance. You got green, but I just don't know if that's being utilized as much as could be for families and that type of stuff. That's my comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
I think my observation, again, driving by, is I have no idea what facilities are in there. It looks like a nice park.
Excellent point. Yeah, that's one of the things we were talking about, and so really leads to my first question of the front entry, right? Where is the front entry? What feels like the front entry? Does it feel walled off from the public?
Well, from what I've noticed is, in recent, they care more about the schools showing now, like, oh, hey, Grosso Tech's up here, or the new middle school's up here. There's nothing saying skate park, basketball courts, nothing. Like, there's nothing to tell you that this is what this park's for. It's more or less just, hey, this is Sutton Park, here's the schools, that's it.
So the new signage that went up with the project
Still doesn't really.
Super bright signage for the school, like that's all you really need.
That kind of, like that one sign right there at the street entrance where
Yep.
you come down the sidewalk, people don't pay attention to that because you got the big LED signs for the school. So people just look and they're like, oh, schools, whatever. I can't tell you how many times I've ordered food to the skate park or anywhere there, and they're like, what are you guys talking about? Like, there's nothing there. And I'm like, the skate park's right here, you can see it.
All right.
So Chad, what I'm hearing is we need a bigger digital sign.
A really big digital sign. Neon flashing lights. Yeah.
I think that the entrance was created when this whole concept was brought about was more like a memorial to the family for which the park is named. And that therein could have been how we wound up with what we have without really thinking what we will have down the road, which is an immensely used park. It's all well and good, but at that time, they probably just thought, let's have like a memorial to the family. They were,
Well,
I
that
really don't know the history.
We
of
didn't
it.
have all the schools up there then.
No, you didn't have all the schools and,
Yeah.
Yep. So from my understanding, and I'd love to know more of the history of both the name and the family that it's named after and the location. But from what I've heard so far is the park was there previous to Grosso Tech and then previously, obviously, to the middle school as well.
I'm not too sure on that right
Okay.
now.
And that there was
I think Grasso was there first.
what was called a sledding hill, and there was a road that crossed across and things like that.
We sold the property to Grosso Tech, my family did.
Oh, okay.
It was there, Fitch, I believe, was in 1954.
Yeah, something like
And
that.
then Grosso Tech came shortly after that, and then Sutton Park after that.
So Sutton was a family that this was named after.
Yes, and I'm not too sure of the history on that now, but I can find it out eventually.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah, Chad, I do know it was a couple that was killed in a car accident.
Correct.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all the details that I have.
I don't know if it was created because of their enthusiasm in the parks in Groton or some other reason, but I think we should be able to find that easy enough in the town hall records.
Okay, yeah.
I actually think I have a copy of not the agenda, but kind of the ceremony when it was originally opened.
When it was dedicated?
So, yeah, when it was dedicated, so I think I can pull that up.
Perfect. What's everyone's thoughts on this large evergreen berm? So Tom, I heard you say that there's a whole lot of green and potentially unused space, but we
I
also,
never see anybody there.
yes, we have a very large,
Summertime it gets used for picnics and stuff, but that's because you have the trees for the shade.
right in here probably.
Yeah, well, so right kind of where that white mark is on the pathway, there's another tree right there too, up on the hill.
Yeah,
So people do sit up there and stuff, but if you get rid of that berm, it also kind of just opens everything up so your ball can go straight into the road or,
yeah.
you know, so the berm kind of helps a little bit, but I mean, those trees that whole area's kind of not been touched in.
Correct. Very large white pine trees at the end of their life, dropping big limbs routinely. Does anybody see that as a positive, as a negative?
The berm's a good thing to have, but I think it could look a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Like if it wasn't there, obviously it would open up so you could see what's in there, like everybody's saying. But it does have its advantages too.
I would go with thinking about renovating that portion there. Quite frankly, it's my own opinion that we might want to see if we can have contact with the Sutton family, if there's any members left, over what we're doing with that portion there, just out of respect to them.
Yeah, that actually sounds
But
like
just kind of voice the opinion that it's something that we don't have much room to go. We're kind of at the end of room. And we want to expand it and accommodate everybody.
Is there a memorial marker in there? I've never seen it.
I think it's the sign was the memorial marker, the original sign on First, but that has been
Yeah.
replaced after, I think it's been replaced at least.
Going up and down the hill, I worked up on top of the hill for 41 years. I lived there all my life, and I never really stopped there.
So what I'm hearing then is we need to find out that history and probably do a better job of hopefully presenting that history so that the next generation might be able to understand what it was about. If all of us that have lived in town for 20 plus years don't know what it's about, we could bring that to light a little better.
Yeah, I mean, even as a kid, my mom used to hold Jimmy funds there when the skate park was still a pond, and I didn't even know anything about the Sutton family. I thought that you guys just named the park that.
Yeah.
The firehouse used to use the pavilion for picnics and things like that. Other than that, just, there it is.
So what other uses, what other like public park type uses do you think would go in this area of the park?
I would ask Mike.
Everybody keeps asking me splash pad on Facebook, but
Splash
Yeah.
pad is
Yeah, everybody
But
keeps,
didn't we
when
talk
I,
about putting that across the way?
when I posted it, everybody commented, is there room for a splash pad? And I was like, I brought it up, but
Well, we'll note it down. We think we have locations for it in other places, but it's something that I'll at least acknowledge that we've gotten.
I just walked through there and walked all the way to the ball field, so there's a, the whole area, there's a drainage problem.
Big time.
It's wet.
right on that first sidewalk, it
Wet on the left
puddles.
side there. So there could be more picnic areas if they weren't sitting in mud.
So those are all weeping drains into that drainage that's right by that white mark and that, on that tail there. So really, the weeping drains can't handle the water that gets pressured to that one area, which if the grading gets fixed, it'll fix all that.
Yep. So we know we have a slow draining area, which is kind of across in Pequannock. We have the same issues. We just have, it's a very low flat area with not a lot of pitch to get to the river, but assuming we can take care of the drainage issues, what do you think is appropriate? You know, is it, we've heard seating, does that mean picnic tables? Does that mean benches?
That's not a terrible idea, because the only picnic tables we have are under the one pavilion, and
Yeah.
I don't know if we end up getting rid of that other shelter by the skate park in the end. Do you know what I mean? It might be cool to have another seating area or two somewhere.
Yeah. And Tom, I heard from you possibly that you think this basketball court gets enough use that it might warrant having a second one. So that obviously takes up a good amount of space, but that's a good
I would say
observation.
between the skate park and the basketball courts, that's 90% of your use of that park.
Right.
So that brings up another great question.
We can revisit that whole fire pit discussion we were having too.
Well, it brings up a great question when you have basketball and the skate park as your two big primary uses. And then on this half, and in the southern half, you have baseball, softball. And we get to park identity, right? And what does this park mean is what we can play with the Sutton family and bring that identity back. But as far as users go, this area seems to be highly concentrated with what I'll say is a teen, most likely a teen or an older type
Well,
park.
we had kids playing at the playground, but you guys kind of, well, I don't want to say you guys, but the town kind of gave up on it and then built the big park across the street. So who's going to want to go to the little park that hasn't been changed in 25 years
Yep.
compared to going a minute across the street and having a huge brand new play facility?
Yeah.
What do you guys want for the police game?
But I mean, the playground does get fair enough usage.
Yeah.
Maybe add some more slides.
More slides? What about swings?
Maybe
Like
some
what,
monkey,
two
more
regular swings
monkey
there?
bars.
More slides.
Tell Mr. Chad.
Yep.
More slides and monkey
I
bars.
think we should expand the playground, maybe add more slides, more swings.
Perfect.
Because there's only 2 regular swings.
Only 2 regular swings.
More
all right.
And then there's the handicap and the baby.
Okay. And I've got a couple of pictures that will talk about playgrounds specifically too in just a minute.
He's the playground man.
Yeah. I do like playgrounds. But park identity. Do we think that this park, is it geared towards older individuals? I don't want to say older kids because there's plenty of older adults or young adults.
There's actually a lot of, people from the senior citizens facility will come by in the summertime and just park and watch and eat lunch. And like it does get fairly used, but 90% of the usage is somebody that's there to use the actual facilities.
Yep.
But when it's nice out, family, like you said, families come down, picnic and watch us skate or.
So is there a feeling so I think the feeling here in this park, in my opinion, is say different than the feeling at the Tercentennial Playground, right? Is that good, bad, or indifferent? Do we think
They just offer different things.
they offer different
They're
things?
right across from each other, so it's almost like you have the soccer and stuff there, and then
Yep.
in the back, you said you have the other fields.
Yep. So what I was trying to get at is there an issue or is there a problem we should be looking to solve? Like, do we think families are not feeling like maybe they're not welcome here, or young kids, if there's more teens, are the young kids going across the street, or is there plenty of activity here?
Well, I just think it's the whole playground issue. Again, you have a $1.5 million playground across the street, and then you got a playground that was $50,000 25 years ago, not touched.
Yeah.
We have a
You know what I
decent
mean?
amount of
Like-
younger kids that come in for the skate park and everything too, though.
So if we had a better park next to the skate park, those two uses are good and symbiotic. They're not excluding one or the other.
No. We
Okay.
had just on
Because
Sunday.
ever since I was a child, that playground's been the exact same, besides they took the rainbow slide out. That was it.
Okay.
Just on Sunday I was actually stoked to see the variation of ages and everything we had down there.
Okay. Good. That's what I think we want to encourage, and I'm just trying to push through those ideas.
When I walked through, I was glad to see that the old bathroom was now gone.
Yes.
But I also was, not that I ever used it, but the horseshoe pits are also gone.
That was, yeah, we brought
So
that
that's
up too.
another, so that's just another, you know, for all ages, basically.
But see, that was another, those things hadn't been touched in 20 years either, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we just took those out this year because, like Mike said, they hadn't been used in forever, so we took them out thinking that that maybe creates a little bit of space to
Put something else in.
So what is that? So, well, we'll get to that in a second, because I'm going to pan down there, Mark, but yeah, no. No, you're doing great. You're just leading about 2 steps too, you know, so other things to talk about here, pathway, right? We've talked about the multi-use path that will likely come. Right now we're holding it somewhere towards that edge. For question, is that the good thing? We're assuming we don't want to bring it
I
right
just have one question.
through the heart. Yep.
So when the skate park was built, they did a survey of Quantic Bridge, the neighborhood I live in, about our lights. And there was a complaint that, you know, after so long, the lights shine in their room. So if you're going to put a path right in their backyard, basically, like, yeah, there's a fence that divides it, but
Yep.
I don't know how the other residents are going to take it.
So should we be talking about screening?
Yeah, maybe to like pull out a little bit from,
Pull out a little bit?
yeah.
And in my opinion, right, a lot of times in the parks we work at, we try to offer some sort of an evergreen buffer or some sort of
Oh, okay, yeah, I was just
separation.
thinking like non-separation,
So
just a
that-
path right there.
The residents don't feel like the park is right in their backyard. And if they're out having a barbecue on their deck, they don't have to worry about people in the park
Yep.
Yep.
watching them, right? So probably some sort of a buffer and separator.
Yeah, that would be
Yep.
perfect.
Does it make sense to keep that bike path somewhere over here as opposed to coming through the center?
No, you can come right to the center.
Either
Unless you're
or.
trying to keep them away from the vehicles more that are pulling into the skate park right away.
Just looking for opinions.
I'm thinking that the proposed change on the path would also encourage people walking along Route 1 to go into the park
Yep.
without having to make the whole loop and traffic and everything else.
Yeah.
So do you think that pathway should connect somewhere down here,
Or
or
if you kept the existing path and just cut straight down the other.
This path,
Yeah,
like
come
use this
right
as a
where it
way in?
starts to curve there, just
Yeah.
come straight down
come
through.
down this way?
Yeah,
Yep.
Yep.
because that would lead more people deeper into the park.
Yep.
So they can see more of what the park has to offer.
Okay. Should there be a spur, if we're going to do this primarily, and we have a sidewalk here, and there's this path idea that goes up to the middle school, so that, do we need a path, or is a sidewalk enough for, say, kids from the neighborhood to be able to come out through that pathway, walk up through, come across the road, and go up to school?
You could have better signs if the road is there, because I think signs are a state thing with the traffic commission or something.
Yeah.
You could put more advertising of what's, you know, 30 feet in.
Better locational
Get on the
directional
road, you could
signage.
say, hey, there's a path here, there's playground back here, there's better signage.
Okay.
Would probably help and give you that clear sign. I think taking the path out on the east side of the basketball court, just making more space.
Okay.
For grass.
So one of the things we've talked about skate park wise too is some of the improvements we're talking about. There's areas you can kind of tell here that are darker, that are asphalt, that are not conducive for skating on. So we're talking about replacing as many of those as possible with concrete and with features to expand it. But then also there's a lot of space around the perimeter of the park that we think we can integrate the park into the park and the skate park, integrate them better together so that there's not a hard defined edge as to here's the, this you're in the zone and this you're out of the zone. Along those ideas that maybe as this pathway goes back and forth, if it's a concrete sidewalk, there might be some little off to the side of it, little berms, or maybe it's a little bench that you could sit on, but skaters as they're going by could also skate up on it and roll back, so that instead of everything being confined within a fence, we let that idea of the skate park bleed into the park a little bit more. And we have some of those street style elements that we know skaters like to ride, and they'll do that wherever it's conducive. So if we make that kind of extend into the park a little bit, So I see you nodding and shaking your
It
head.
makes sense to me. I mean, I can't, I'm not skating. Me either. But it definitely makes sense to me to have kind of, for younger children,
Yep.
not yet ready for the park itself,
Yep.
to start getting those skills. I think that sounds really cool.
Okay, good. Anybody else? I know we've had plenty of conversations about that, but
Silas, what do you want done at the playground?
I'll have to agree at this point.
okay. All right, I am gonna, so panning down a little bit, going to the middle of the park. So again here, questions on parking. So Tom, you mentioned that when you've driven through, it's full. Does that mean parking is full, or does that mean the pavilions are full?
I typically would, in the summertime again, ride my bike through that on the weekends, that there would be, the parking area would be full, there'd be people having, families together, with cookouts and stuff in that pavilion area. And that's one area that I always routinely saw heavily used.
Okay, and parking lots were full too. That's what we're trying to gauge, if we need more parking, if we have sufficient parking.
Right.
I think we just have to upgrade the park itself
So
to
parking
what it
wise,
is now instead of what it was when it was created years ago.
Okay,
Just
I've
expand
just
it.
seen when you guys hold events across the street, at Quantic Plains,
yeah,
our lot fills up to where we don't have enough parking to park even for the skate park.
so
So maybe it's a double thing where like maybe Quantic Plains needs more parking
yeah,
too.
yeah, we know Paquonic Plains needs more
You know what I
parking.
mean, but-
So you're getting some overflow.
Oh, we get
from-
all of it. They'll even park right in my backyard along that fence line right there and just load the whole park up.
Along here?
Yep.
So you're getting people.
Oh, they'll load up all
Yeah, I've
right
seen
there.
that, I'll vouch for that parking there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we definitely are filling the parking we have.
Oh,
and could
100%.
use- Okay, all right. That's good to know. Large pavilion, what's its condition? What do we feel it's in?
The actual pavilion's in great condition. The
This-
shelter one is
I'm
not.
saying this.
Yeah, that one's in
large
great
pavilion.
condition. I mean, it could be painted, but
Okay.
I know they get volunteers, I think, once a year to come in and do it.
Help out? Yep. It's got picnic tables underneath of it, movable.
That one actually has, that's what she was saying by, that one has most of the picnic tables. The shelter one normally only has about 2 in it at a time.
So this one has several, this one only has 1 or 2 or 2 or 3?
Yep.
Okay. The small pavilion,
Get it out of there.
okay.
It's trash.
Not in good shape? No, no. But the use of it, as we've talked about with the skate park users, it gets used heavily as well. So it's in pretty bad condition, but we need to replace it because the use is there from a needing the shade perspective. That's one of the questions. We make it bigger, and then locationally, is it in the right location? Right, from a skate park perspective, what we talked about with the users there is, especially with this fence all the way along and only one gate, for them to use it, they're coming all the way out of the park over and using it. It's not terribly long, but it's not connected by any means, right? And for the public, if you're down here, it's kind of hidden, but with all those very large shrubs and things like that. So is that the right location?
I almost think that if you're considering to eliminate the small one, and there's work to be done on the big one, perhaps relocate the big one, even if you have to make it a little bit bigger, so it's accessible for all, more or less.
Okay, well, so what I've heard from some is that there's plenty of days when this is full with a birthday party or a family activity.
That's the one that gets used mostly for
Right.
birthday parties.
And now, Mark, does this get rented, or how does, so families can reserve this?
Some people rent it, some people just show up, and if it's
And
not being
hope.
used, they'll take it.
Both places get rented.
So you can reserve
Rent
even
the
this
smaller,
one?
Yes.
Okay,
Is it possible we could utilize both?
I mean, we were proposing just moving it.
right.
Just moving, yeah.
Yeah, like we still keep 2 of them, so you
Right.
guys can still rent both of
Still
them.
have
and-
the 2 of them.
Right, it sounds like I think from everything I've heard, we need 2 at a minimum. It's just a matter, what I'm asking is this the right location for the second one? Or
That's,
should
I feel if you're gonna tear it down to rebuild it, I'd just move it.
Okay.
This is where I can see going across the street and having two separate areas.
I do like that. That's a
So
good one.
if you had one of those over there,
Yeah.
right, that's obviously a good thing.
Space over there.
Yeah,
Next to the basketball court?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, but if we're gonna end up, I didn't know if we end up expanding the basketball court, if that's an option either, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like
Then there's room in
we
the Sutton
expand,
Park.
we put it in front of
Just
it
then
or
you
in
have
the
to-
back.
If you get,
People
the
like
playground's
don't
gonna
want to
change, it'll be a different
Basketball,
footprint.
to move the kids around over turning.
potentially.
That tree area, you just cut down some.
Yeah. How about, so we've talked about picnic tables. There's a couple here, there's a couple there. There's a handful of benches.
Yeah, I think there's 3 or 4.
Yeah, they're all kind of locked in place. Opinions on the benches? Good, bad?
Well, they're really old and I've seen like rust on the bottoms of them.
Yeah.
I think we should maybe make some new ones.
Replace them?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not in good condition. Should we have more of them?
I think we should maybe put in like 3 or 4 more.
Okay. So we've got, from what I can see right here on the plan, we've got like 3 here, another one there, another one there. So these are kind of angled so people can almost sit and talk, but they're kind of far apart. And then these, to me, are angled in a way so that a parent or a guardian can sit there while maybe the kid's playing, right? So do we need a little bit more of all of those?
Well, I would think more, yeah.
Yeah.
actually,
More of all of those. Do we like the idea of having benches grouped in a way that people are sitting face to face and encouraging them to talk, or should we have them?
Nowadays, yes.
Okay.
People need to get out and talk more.
Yeah.
And you should have a little each so you can sit.
Right.
where you go.
Okay.
Right, maybe there's a couple along the pathway or something, just.
Yeah. So I mentioned already we have these large shrubs and a handful of trees that kind of ring around. This is an asphalt sidewalk if you haven't been out there recently, so it is kind of bumpy and lumpy and not very wide. But condition of that, the landscaping. Is it past its prime? Is it good? Should we not touch it?
It's like,
Overgrown?
it's like shrubs around your house.
Shrubs around your house?
There's shrubs around your house, they used to be really small, and now they're.
Now they're giant and taking over? Yeah.
It might be more maintenance, but I think maybe some planters might be nicer too, but,
Planters would be nicer than large shrubs.
I mean, yeah, because those are definitely out of control.
Yeah. One of the things we're always looking about is safety and having some visual connections to parks, so there's nothing that's truly hidden. Those to me are over my head and very large and evergreen.
Those are dogs.
The dogwoods are gorgeous, though.
Dogwood trees are gorgeous. They're very big, and we have to figure out how much longer they're going to be healthy. Yeah. Any other comments, kind of general around?
Well, I would think, so the sidewalk is like very bumpy.
Yeah.
I think we should maybe fix that.
Fix the sidewalk
Yeah.
because it's super bumpy.
Yeah.
Last time I ran over, I tripped.
You did.
Yeah.
You trip when you run on something flat?
It's not flat. It's not flat anymore.
So playscapes.
There you go, look at those walls.
Oh my god.
I want to play on that.
So, interested in thoughts on, we kind of have 3 different ideas, right? We have the more typical, I'll say, playscape, which kind of like what we have at Tercentennial Playground. It's got the roller slides, it's got little bridges, it's somewhat has accessible pieces to it. And we've got some climbing structure and things like that. So that's kind of what I'll call the typical playscapes right now, the one we have. Right, some of the newer stuff, like what's gone in on the 2 new elementary schools, has some more of the ropes types course and some more of the climbing things.
I like the long one.
And then we have the
Yeah,
idea
the
of
long one is like the best for like me kind of kid.
it's the best for you kind of kid.
You can have all kinds of kids that
Yeah.
are broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good for like climbers and kids who like to explore.
Okay.
The first one.
Yeah. No, you're good. I want to hear it. Yeah. Yeah. So what I see from the 2 kids is you guys both like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adult wise, what do we think?
I want to play on both the top 2.
You want to play on both the top 2, so the climber and the log or naturalized? Yeah.
Which one would you go run to first?
The top right.
Yeah, that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, the only feedback is just ensuring that there are accessible elements in it.
Okay. So we want to make sure there's accessibility. Other thoughts?
There were some concerns about other things. I'm just speaking from other people that I've talked to in the town that this is happening. A place to maybe reinstall a horseshoe pits. And who was it? Somebody was mentioning that their family always does picnics down at the park, and they would have like a DJ or something when they were.
There's no power.
And the power is no longer working. So if there was some sort of a way to, when you are renting it, if maybe there's a lock box that the town comes down and unlocks or something, so there's access for power for like, whether it's a DJ or whether it's like a movie screening outdoor type of thing or something like that, just to have some sort of power.
Okay. Power, and we did hear horseshoe pits again. Good. Other playscape ideas? Have you been to other playscapes that you've been to and thought this is really cool and we don't have one in town?
Once, like, we went to, like, this museum, and there's, like, something like that rope thing, but we, like, really liked it.
It was something like the rope thing? So it's something that is a climbable rope?
It was essentially that configuration where it was like just a thing to
pyramid
climb
of
with
ropes?
that was rope, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So from an accessibility perspective, obviously, like the rubber type matting is really good, but we'll have to be budgeting costs, obviously, of rubber matting or some rubber matting and some potential wood chips. Right now it's sand, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like a litter box.
It's about 30-year-old sand too.
Sorry. Ouch.
That's a sandbox that needs to be cleaned. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So other playground items, I was putting this up there that at last summer during one of the public events at Pequannock Plains Park and Rec put out, different ideas of what people wanted to see. And so this was some of the input that we got. Slightly different amenities. I know it's impossible to see, but this was how we let people vote, was basically put pictures and then they put their stickers around them to vote. And I highlighted some of the ones that got the most. Which is hard to see, but it is a climber type system. It's got climbing edges around it and it's got rope in the center. This one is an accessible 4-person rocking swing.
Didn't Groton Plains used to have that? They had like a table that swung?
They had a table that rocked, yep. And then this one is somewhat of an accessible large disc that's also swaying and swinging. So those were some of the...
That'd be a great idea even to put, I don't know what happened to it yet again, but we used to have a kind of bulletin board at the skate park that had plexiglass on it. Pretty sure somebody broke the plexiglass, but I think the town workers took it yet again.
Okay, so you had a board?
We had a bulletin board on the fence.
Like a community board?
Yeah, so you can put, like people would, the meetings that we put up there, we used to have it, you could plug it in there and you wouldn't have to worry about laminating it.
Okay.
Last time I used that table though, you'd all stand on it and try to rock it, and all of us would fall off out of it after a while.
Yeah. Moving down to the southern end, if you will. So the horseshoe pits are still shown there in that survey, but obviously we know they've been taken out. So I've heard plenty of, horseshoe pits need to go back. Is that it for that area? What other uses? Right now they were taken out because they need repair. Other things could go in there. Cornhole could be one.
Yeah, but with cornhole, somebody's just gonna steal the board.
Well, there's options now for kind of built-in cornhole.
Oh, is there?
Right.
things.
I think
Then we
there's
have
like
to worry
a
about
lot
the
of
bags, so
trees
we just
over
bring our own
there
bags.
that we can make.
I mean, that's what they do with horseshoe pits, you gotta bring around horseshoes.
Exactly.
I don't know what we could do with all those trees over there.
There's lots of trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these trees we can't touch. These trees we have some control over. We know we need to get the pathway through here. It's going to be pretty tight. We've got a parking problem if we have people parking all the way along there. So we'll be looking at that. But we do have a pretty good amount of space in here, right? So are there other passive uses, other than just picnic tables? We've got the horseshoe pits, we've got cornhole.
How big is pickleball?
Pickleball?
Not that I play, but
Yeah.
it's been
Was it
it's a
bocce?
thing.
One of the other day?
Definitely a thing people-
I know they play pickleball at the hockey rink though.
I think they got it going up at Farquhar.
How do they got it going up there too?
It's half a tennis,
Have a
basically.
tennis court.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not.
Probably not enough room right there. And then you maybe get one court, which also tends to be not enough.
Gaga pit. Do you guys ever play Gaga?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, God, I love that. We used to play it. It's at Peter's Pond, and
Oh, yeah.
we play it all the time when we go there. Every year we go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Remember you guys telling me about it, but I don't know what it was now.
Well, I like Gaga. You love Gaga. Yeah.
What other things might we have at a park?
Trying to think of like freestanding thing like they used to do tetherball and that kind of stuff everywhere.
So zooming back out again, kind of looking at the whole park, we're basically wrapping up, but I wanted to talk, as we've kind of worked north to south, has anything spurred any ideas back at the other areas, or as we've thought about it a little bit more?
Would there be space for some picnic tables up near the basketball court?
Picnic tables up here?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, we have a lot of space up here, right? If you look at the size of the park, we have a very active area here. Area-wise, this is almost the same size. It's not nearly as heavily programmed.
But we're potentially putting a restroom.
But we have the restroom building, so excellent point, thank you. So right now, the restroom is kind of anticipated it might go here. Thoughts on that as a location?
I still think you're gonna have kids just running out across the parking lot to go to the bathroom. I don't think that's
Yeah.
I know you guys gotta think of how to get the plumbing out and everything, but
Yeah.
you guys had plumbing going all the way through the back, so there's a way for it to work without it going across the street.
So we have playscape, family heavy activity here, heavy activity here.
So it would be good to have it near the playscape if that's a possibility, obviously, because that's where most of the kids that are going to have to be running to the bathroom that we're concerned about would go.
Okay.
Up.
I think one of the ideas was, initially when it was back here, obviously got very heavily vandalized and eventually had to be removed because of it. So trying to get it to a place where it's visible and much more easy to be policed is important.
Right there on that corner.
Which is why this was kind of the first assumption, but we are definitely worried about crossing back and forth across the
There's
street.
that whole corner right there where that evergreen tree is, where you turn into the parking lot for the playscape.
Here,
Right.
Well, come more towards, yeah. That's kind of a dead spot for everything. Parking, you can't, because there's a sidewalk that goes up right there for handicap usage.
okay?
I think when you walk in, there's that grass. I think you should put a bathroom there.
We're taking the whole fence back.
No.
And you can't put the bathrooms in the skate park when the bathrooms for the whole park.
I didn't
He goes,
say
"Wait, you know where the speed ramp is? That's better when I put it there.
Yeah, so one of the ideas we have talked about with the skate park is, again, as I mentioned, expansion along here, possibly expansion along here, and kind of letting it bleed throughout the park a little bit so that it isn't just an isolated area. And that's possible that it could happen as we, come around this. There could be some little skate features as it goes either way. But bathroom and that location is definitely something we're going to be looking at heavily.
So the bathroom next to the basketball court and then the trail on the other side of it just doesn't seem like a good aesthetics or good look to it.
Okay.
And there's a building in the way so you can't see things from the street. And just as I was talking about, if you put a picnic table up near that, up on the grassy area, people will see there's picnic tables and then maybe they'll, hey, maybe there's more inside.
It feels
It's
more like a
inviting
public
kind of-
community park
inviting
area.
kind of thing.
Excellent. So this right now, what I just heard is this right now is not inviting. It's not drawing people. There's nothing there to let the general public going by, let them know that there's a park in there that they should turn into. Which is kind of very different, obviously, than Pequannock Plains, right? Pequannock Plains, wide open, you see right in. I think it's a great thing because you can see the activity. It does draw people in. It makes you feel like there is a a very active community when you see that much engagement.
I think the renovation of that piece right there at the entrance would be a lot better than just greenery and the looks. If you blend it, if you lower it down and blend it into the rest of the park, then you get a better viewpoint of the park and what's going on.
Yeah.
And the fact that there are activities there. A lot of people don't realize what is there.
Yep. So people don't realize what's there, people don't see what's happening in there, so they're more likely to drive by and not
Like I
notice.
said, this was all created when this was first done.
Yep.
With one vision in mind, and it really wasn't a broad vision at that. It wasn't used that much.
Well, and on some level, as we've talked with the skating group too, like, obviously this wasn't planned from the beginning, right? The rest of the park was here, this was kind of a little, and it kind of has been organically growing over time, but also kind of pushed in the corner, right? Like, we'll give you a little bit of space, but you're over there, and it really is, this is, for those of you like me that don't skate, a phenomenal park that gets a huge draw. You know, people come from quite a long ways away to be able to skate in the park. It's not, you know, Groton residents are very fortunate to be able to have
I feel like we have one of the best skate parks around.
one of the best,
Thanks
one
for
of the
that.
best skate
I
parks.
actually talked to people, and I think Mike can say the same. People from Madison I've talked to, that come up here just for our skate park.
I've had people travel from California.
We're one of the best in
Jeff
the
knows a
area.
bunch of people that have traveled in.
Yep.
There is a good amount of people though that don't like the idea of having that. It's like when you're in the park and you're.
It's a little bit of privacy for us.
It's, yeah, it's if that hill's gone, you're just looking right into the gas station. You know, it's like kind of like.
Yeah, it's not like the Planet Plains. At least if you look out at the Planet Plains, it's like,
It's
oh.
nice because you're like getting away. Here we are in this oasis of the skateboard park.
So it's finding the right balance
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
of buffer transparency.
So, I mean, I think if you ripped all those trees and bushes out and just did like sweet planters and, you know, would chip it up, make it look nice, I think it'd be great.
Okay.
I mean, if you envision being at the skate park or even at the playground and looking towards the gas station, right now you see a hill and trees and it's peaceful and nice. If you open that all up, you're just looking into the gas station. I drive by the gas station, you see it all the
I just had a
time.
thought.
Sit down and
Might
chill.
have comes to mind of signage.
Yeah.
Coming down Fort Hill and coming towards the gas station. Like the welcome to Groton sign at 117 and Route 1, perhaps a banner of Sutton Park, Quantic Plains Park, coming down Fort Hill. At the top of the hill, or halfway down, Sutton Park, Quantic Plains Park. Quantic Plains Park kind of announces itself.
Right, well, we obviously know we need better signage.
Yeah,
So
the school sign kind of
the sign
confuses people,
displays
I
what we
think.
have.
Yes, yes.
You try to tell somebody where Sutton Park is, and you have to say, oh, go to the entrance of the tech sign.
Yep.
So perhaps the signage that we established that we need, it somehow states or displays on there what we have to offer there as well.
Yep.
Well, Roscoe's right too, though. If you're coming down 117, the sign says Bluff Point this way. It says nothing about the parks. And anything, those are big, you know, draw.
Yep, I agree. So I think signage within the park is huge, signage along the frontage to truly identify the park.
That if you get off exit 88 from either way, it says, you know, Bluff Point State Park to the right.
Yep.
We don't have nothing being like, oh, hey, skate park over here, but you go to any other town, you go to Deep River, you go to Willimantic, they all got, hey, skate park this way, or playgrounds this way.
Okay.
Maybe if the Sutton Park sign was redone with some brilliant colors, so to speak, that went with the theme of the area and all that. Maybe it's just time for a change.
Yep.
Like the whole park, it's time for a change.
Yep. So my last question, and then I can stay and answer questions or talk as long as you want, but my last real question is, how do we feel about art and public art and placemaking and sense of place?
So I've brought this up with the skate park in the past is, you know, for a little bit there's people doing bad spray paint with good spray paint, and the cops would come and bother them, and the town would complain, and this was my argument. You have an enclosed place that people can do art, you know what I mean? And they're not going out and doing it on the town buildings or doing it through the town where it shouldn't be done.
Yep.
Might be cool to have some kind of feature along that front bit that was even
Even like a wall
like
or...
along the road, that was even potentially skatable or something that like
I wouldn't, it would, you could do like an art wall there.
Yep.
something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, again, as an outsider, I look at this and I agree, we've heard there's been graffiti, there's been some bad stuff. Right now, you guys have done an amazing job of painting over and making it very artistic so that all the features have...
We just felt that has to be inviting, like nobody wants to bring their kids somewhere that has cuss words
Yeah.
and...
So do we want to take some of that and encourage it further, not encourage the public necessarily, but
Yeah, for the
but
whole
do
park though.
some art out into the park,
Oh, yeah.
right? And let that
Even
be
the
part,
basketball court, I think you guys could do a sweet mural or something on it.
let that be part of the identity so that it
Because I mean, if you look at an aerial angle of the skate park right now, the whole park looks terrible, and then you got the skate park painted awesome.
yep.
Yeah, we
I really like the idea of the art wall. The entrance, it almost entices.
You could do like art
With the
wall
gas
plans.
station.
It could help with the gas station view and entice people to come in and give you a little flavor of,
Yes, because if we're a mural,
yep,
to have the activity.
yep. So murals, sculpture. So I've heard, I mean, we have a very sculptural park to me that is like pretty fun. You know, we can play with that. We've talked about blending some of those skating amenities out into the park, so that kind of adds to that sculpturalness. Do we, you know, continue that? Yep.
I know this is going to hit kind of hard, maybe in a way, but I've worked in the local state parks for the last 7 years, Fort Griswold and Bluff Point. And Fort Griswold has a drinking fountain, and Bluff Point has what they call a hydrant. It's actually, well, it's a lawn hydrant, but it services for drinking water, and it is City of Groton water. It is not a well. But that's just something, maybe just one drinking fountain.
Yeah, so we had one connected to the bathrooms, but once everybody beat the bathrooms up, you know, the town kind of threw their hands up, which everybody understood, but it kind of just...
So drinking water out there is necessary and power.
Whatever they had before,
We had
there were some changes.
We had a hose hookup and we had a drinking fountain.
Okay.
Now, these hydrants that I speak of, the one is in the picnic area at Bluff Point. It services the whole park very well.
Yep.
And it's created so you can put a garden hose to it, and it's just that people have to be reminded that it's not a toy. And we get some flooding in the picnic area down there at times. So,
Yeah, that one, if I remember right, is like a...
Yeah, you just lift
It's a
the
lift
handle.
handle and it just
Right,
gushes out pretty
right.
strong.
It's
Yeah.
actually what they term as a hydrant. The
Right.
valve is 40
Deep.
inches down.
Yeah,
And so it's left open year-round, it's
Yeah.
used year-round.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Just kind of piggybacking on the idea of having like water fountains, when we talk about having picnics or when people rent out the pavilions, having grills there.
Oh, we gotta keep the grills.
Yeah.
We use those
Right.
very often.
And another thing, just kind of tying, and I think the visuals that you use really help because from the kind of the main entrance going all the way back to the ball fields, one of the big feedback items that we get is, oh, I didn't know there were ball fields back there. So I'm just trying to think of when one of like the features that gets celebrated at Montana Park is like the track, how it's like the quarter-mile loop that people can go and get like their walk-in or whatnot. Would there be a way when you're talking about kind of connecting the northern part of the park to the southern part, identifying like, hey, this is also a quarter-mile walk, or this is something like along that line?
Okay. Yep, we could definitely, I mean, especially the path, right? And maybe we've got that, and we could have some mile markers and some kind of beginning and ending destination points so that there is that. People do like to have that idea of how far have I gone. So we could look at that. Yep, got to get your steps. Yep, the idea of a loop is kind of difficult, but we might be able to, as we work out either this walkway and where it goes and this walkway and that, we might be able to do something there too. All right. We're pretty much done. So any last comments, thoughts, ideas? Mark?
The grill, like, talking about the grills get used by skaters and like there's parties that go down there all the time. We've got to make sure we maintain that. There's people that have been going down there for years.
Yes. Do we need more grills then?
Annual parties down there, and they use the grills. I mean, they also bring their own grills, and they utilize those
Are there grills down there now?
Yeah, there are grills down there now. They've only replaced 2 of them though, so we do need some new ones.
most to sit like this right now.
So we need to replace them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for that. We had 5 down at Bluff Point, and they're there year-round, and they're sufficient for what people need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be 2 by the small building.
They're split.
There still is?
Yeah, so right next to the big one, they put
What I'm
one
talking
in.
about, that's like that.
Okay.
It's leaning a little bit. Okay.
But the big one has no bottom in it, so,
That doesn't work very well.
yeah, they took the small one that was fine and left the one that was terrible, but they did bring us another small one, so.
Okay.
Sometimes these grills are easier to replace than to repair.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's a grill, you don't want to spend all your money and time on doing a grill.
Yep.
You know, you've got 8 hours labor for one worker, or whatever the hours are. It could be cheaper to buy the grill.
Yep.
Yeah, it took them about 2 minutes to put in, so.
Yeah, the one thing that I wanted to mention was, we have proposed architectural, like LED lighting
Yes.
along the pathway.
Yeah.
So that wasn't brought up, and I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Good point. That is part of the multi-use path as it goes through the park, is to have lighting along it. It is the solar-powered lights, which will be the same lights that will eventually go around Pequannock Plains Park as well.
James?
Yeah.
And they're not like big street lights, they're 12 to 15 feet.
Yeah.
Are there lights at the skateboard park?
We got one set.
Yeah, part of what this is, one of the improvements is new lighting for the skate park. Yeah, because right now it's not lit very well at all. The back half is really dark, so it's all new lighting for the skate park.
Basketball courts.
Basketball courts have more lighting than anybody
They
does.
have a lot of lights right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Anything else?
Sounds like a good plan.
Good. Well, our plan going forward, we're going to take the input. Like I said, we're meeting with the skateboard group again in a week. And then we'll start developing plans and probably be back to you hopefully around a month or so to be able to start rolling the plans out to the public as to what it is the first concepts look like, so we can get feedback on those, and then start the permitting process and all that to get this built sooner than later, because there's funding in place, so we want to keep going as quickly as we can.
From my point of view, I probably Mark more so than me, but you probably got your funding all set for this year.
Yeah, I mean, we had received a couple of grants. We got CIP money, I think, last year, LoSiP money. So we have, I'm not asking for any more money for Sutton Park.
But to have a project that has money in place ready to go.
A lot of this stuff, a lot of people are looking for, we spoke about it, let's get it done. Sometimes it doesn't move at that speed.
Yeah.
So this is possible that can move in the speed, you'll be, in your design sort of looking, you have this much money, and so it's not a step-by-step.
No,
We're getting most of it all done. at once.
Yeah, we know what the budget is right now, and that's part of what we're, I will say honestly, trying to manage the expectations a little bit, because all of that funding, as Mark mentioned, it came from a whole lot of different pots, and all with ideas as to what it was going to fund. And of course, escalation has hurt things a little bit. So we're trying to.
That would be a success from what you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually get.
I get in on the back side of it, but from my own opinion is I would move everything forward on this, because like I said, this has been untouched for quite a while, and I think it has a priority.
Yep, no, and I think we would agree, and Mark definitely agrees, and that's why he was advocating for all the funds that they've been able to get to this point. So now we have the money, we just want to finalize the design, get public buy-in to make sure we're building the right things and what the public really wants.
There's a lot of other things in it that have been almost repetitious from last year, but like I said, this to me is a priority.
Yep.
It's going long enough.
Is this your project, so you don't have to, town council doesn't have to approve? Or
No, we've got all the money.
No, all of that?
Yep. Money's in hand, ready to go. We basically will go through, get the public input process, make sure, like I said, the public agrees with what we want to do. Then we do the permitting process. So we do have wetlands. I didn't even talk about that, but the stream is obviously right along there. The wetland edge is really close by, so we have to go through wetlands approval, zoning approval, and then we'll be out, for construction drawings out to bid and construction as soon as we can.
I'm still a little concerned with the baseball fields, or they're not a priority at this time.
No, I wouldn't say they're not a priority. The baseball fields are tied into what we hope takes place at Colchester. So right now, I think on the 28th, we go back to the council after and report on the survey that folks filled out at the public presentation, also the online survey, present all that information to the council to say this is what the public is saying they want at Colchester. We have a couple $100,000 that was budgeted 2 years ago to look at, to come up with a set of plans to address the needs of field shortages in town. And the three spots that we're looking at are Colchester, Sutton Park, and also the high school. So if the council moves and says, yes, we've heard what the public wants and we're in agreement that, we're going to put fields in here, then we can start spending that $200,000, come up with a set of plans for fields and field amenities at the high school, at Sutton Park, and also Colchester. So,
I don't know, the thing about the Colchester thing is you guys got a giant field right here that's getting nothing done with it.
which field is that?
This whole block.
Well, we just redid, sure, point in the right direction.
I think we just get lost too.
We just redid one field, and we put in a request to the state to make changes to the multi-purpose field out back, and we're actually getting ready to start work on this baseball field. We got $25,000 from ARPA money, and that project is going to start hopefully this spring.
Oh,
So, yeah, so we're, and we actually already upgraded the small baseball field out back, so.
Oh, see, I thought we got rid of that one.
That field that was just redone was the original football field in town. And it hasn't been touched since this school was built.
Yeah, no, well, they did soccer field once when I went to school here. Yeah, but they didn't do much.
Yeah, but now I think what they did, and they did it in-house, was pretty darn good.
I don't even know, I just need them level it out.
It's got irrigation, it's been leveled off for a change.
Yeah, it still floods though.
Yeah, well, this whole area is gonna flood, you can't get away from it. Yeah.
And the plans for the multi-purpose field out back, same thing, we're doing it in-house, taking out the material that's there now, putting in good topsoil, putting in an irrigation system, so that, these fields will look a lot like the Quantic Plains. They'll hold up better, they're much safer, because the fields that exist, and they still exist out back, there's no cover, they're not level at all.
Digging into all.
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. Anything else? Awesome. Thank you very much for coming. And we'll try to keep everybody informed over the next couple of months as we move forward.
Golf course can come later. I don't play anyways.
We'll put a golf course in the park just for you.